Welcome, everyone. Deborah, Katharina, Katja, and Martina here as your hosts of the SANAT Kumara's Ambassador of Light podcast in 2026. As usual, we use a conversational format to share new information with you, combining our skills and knowledge. Today, we welcome Susan Jack as our special guest. Our topic today is the dragon's reality. But first, who's Susan Jack? Susan is a co-teacher at University and has been chosen by Buddha, Joshua, Shiva, working in group consciousness to bring new teachings to the human family. You might have already heard the ongoing lessons of our three master teachers, but added to this will be books, and you may shortly join the University podcast for that dedicated master teacher team. Her own core quality is that she can perceive dragons as they are and not as we humans perceive or describe dragons. Now, let me put that into different words to emphasize that. Susan Jack lives in the world of the dragons. She sees through their eyes. She feels through their skin. She knows reality as they perceive it. So, she'll be able to tell us, and with her paintings also show us, what we need to know and learn about the dragons, so that we can do away with any form of manipulated old myths and stories. And I hand over to my dear colleagues now, and would Katharina please ask the first question to Susan?
Yes. Thank you, Martina. I'm so eager to ask the first question, because this is an extremely exciting topic, even for me. Susan, what is the purpose of dragons in all of creation?
Hello, Katharina. Thank you so much for inviting me here, ladies. It's wonderful. Thank you. Katharina, dragons are made from the fire of life. You may have heard of holy fire. This is their energy signature. It's their makeup. The easiest way for those in the past to describe dragons was to condense this down into a human translation to say that they breathe fire. But here on earth, fire is a destructive force, whereas holy fire is a creative force. The fire of life is creative. So that description doesn't quite work. Dragons and humans have been kept apart by many misconceptions. Dragons are creative, wise beings. More so, they are divine architects. They design and build along with the devas within creation. They then move or inspire their creations with the fire of life. Let's say they move or carry the divine spark. They do not create the divine spark, but they are honored with the task of distributing this divine spark wherever it is needed in all of creation.
Susan, thanks a lot. That's completely new. Deborah, you are already
Yeah, I'm fascinated to listen to what you have to say and learn more about the dragons myself, and I'm sure our listeners are also. So I have a question that I've pondered before. Where do dragons come from in this universe and in this cosmos?
Hello, Deborah. Thank you for this question. Dragon souls are born from the Creator, from the first triangle of light. This is why they have creator abilities. Let's say it's every dragon soul, their soul mission to create, and to create under the guidance and direction of the first triangle of light. They are masters of time and space, which is, of course, one and the same thing, but that's for a later date. In this way, dragons are quite literally universal, meaning within our universe, and cosmic. Again, in ways it's difficult to have an awareness of this concept of the human mind. It will be easier to understand when everyone connects to their personal dragon or dragons. And each person, each human, therefore, has a personal experience, and we can swap notes, which is why Shiva, Yeshua, and Buddha keep telling us, remember to take notes. Take notes. You will refer to your notes. So this is cross. It's just every time we have an experience, we note it, and we can share those experiences and get a more 360 impression.
As we're all connected to our personal dragons, the notes we take are from our personal dragons, and we can share that with each other.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Katarina, you can barely hold yourself in.
Yeah. True. And how do they present themselves to us? Now, here in the fifth dimension, in higher dimensions, and on the highest level in unity consciousness, how do they present themselves to us?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Thank you. Because it was difficult for us to perceive dragons when we were in the heavy 3D, because that was a heavy, dense state. But I have to say that even now we're operating in 5D. It's still tricky for dragons to present themselves to us due to our wild opinions about them. In our Western society, they're fire-breathing monsters. And those monsters are to be mastered, controlled, and vanquished. And this is so far from the truth. However, it's important, as the dragon beings must make themselves known to us in a way we understand. They know humans so well. They will appear to us in the West as this mythical creature, because that is what we are programmed to see. In the Asian countries, they will see dragons exactly as their culture expects. The dragons use our library of mind to present themselves in an image we will recognize. So you will definitely say, "Oh, look, a dragon," and not, "What on earth was that?" We will recognize the image that we have in our minds. But still remember, you'll see them either in your inner vision or in your peripheral vision. You may also feel, let's say, when I'm out walking, a brush against your legs, as a friendly dog may brush by or indeed lean against you. But there's no point jumping quickly and trying to look for the image. You don't want to engage your human, logical 3D mind. You need to improve your inner vision over time. Now, in the higher dimensions, and more so in unity consciousness, you don't have to worry about how you perceive them, because you will smile when you understand that they are only one of the many benevolent helpers, and all are available to you all the time You are closer than dearest friends, and you recognize their energy signature immediately. In the finer dimensions, you choose the bodily vehicle which suits your purpose, whichever your mission. You may choose to have no body. But again, as human beings, this is a difficult concept for us to grasp.
Susan, I can very much relate to that. I see certain book titles like How to Tame Your Dragon or How to Educate Your Dragon, as if they were horses or dogs and not equals that bring something we even can't perceive. When you said, they come around your feet, with me, they just wrap around my neck and my shoulders like a warm scarf.
Lovely.
So that is just beautiful. Katja, you have been quietly listening, so I'm curious what you want to know.
I actually have a follow-up question to what Susan was saying about the Library of Mind. Many of us do come across dragons through fairy tales, and many of us do come across dragons through different religious myths and legends. We all know that dragons were part of the religious storyline, that many of the saints did fight with the dragon. However, is my understanding correct that this story was also corrupted as many other stories that are brought to us through religious sources? What do you have to say about it, Susan?
That is very, very interesting. I was in a museum art gallery the other day, and I was standing in front of one such picture. Now that, again, yes, you're quite right, is a corruption of this, the holy fire, meaning that the dragon is breathing the fire, the dragon is the fool, and the brave angel or knight must vanquish this fool. However, when we're talking about the fire of life and holy fire, it is about, I was thinking particularly of George and the Dragon, the English legend. But, and he is supposed to have killed the dragon. However, that is metaphor of vanquishing, as in taking on the dragon quality and him himself absorbing the dragon quality and becoming the fierceness of the fire and the bravest of the brave. And they are never going to write in any kind of scripture that dragons hold this power.
So it's kind of you use them. So in the story, you kill them, but in fact, what you're actually doing is you're absorbing their strengths and abilities.
Yes. Yes. But it's the dragon presents itself to you for you to integrate with it. So he is no great hero for integrating with the dragon. However, he has to be made in story and legend to, of course, the human has to be greater than, surely do. So the human, or indeed the religious angel, has to be made greater than this monstrous foe.
So yeah, I've never heard a story that Mother Mary would want to slay a dragon.
No. No.
Come on, let's be serious.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Katja, another question?
Follow-up question. Yes, indeed. So is my assumption correct that there is another layer of meaningful relations between dragons and masters that we know as Yeshua and Mother Mary? Could you maybe talk to us a little bit about what we know as Christ consciousness and its links to dragons?
That is a super interesting question.
I agree.
It's a very interesting question because it makes the dragons so much closer to all of us. If I can expand a little further on my first answer, when I described the dragons as made from the fire of life or holy fire, we're back in that religious territory again. I would say that those two terms are more biblical or religious terms to what we now term as Christ consciousness. If you want to keep religion out of it, you could call it the universal mind. It's all the same thing. The universal mind means there is an omniscient, all-knowing, omnipotent, all-powerful, and omnipresent, present everywhere, yet compassionate force of universal mind moving through our cosmos on the vibration and frequency of divine love. As Christ, the biblical Christ, whom we now recognize as Yeshua ben Joseph, was the bringer of love, the teacher of the importance of love, love of self, love of your fellow human, love of animals, and of Mother Earth Maya herself, and indeed all beings on, in, and through this plane of existence. Due to this great master's lessons on love, we now know this universal mind as Christ consciousness. Now, that being my long answer, the short version would be that dragons do indeed distribute Christ consciousness to wherever they deem it's needed. They design, they build with the devas, and they breathe the fire of Christ consciousness, if you want to describe it as such. So you cannot separate the dragons from Christ consciousness, which is why our ideas of dragons as fire-breathing monsters is just so far from the truth. It's going to take us a huge step from the mythical creature to a divine being building and creating with the power of this divine universal mind.
Thank you, Susan. That is actually mind-blowing to the point that I want to take 30 seconds to absorb what you have just told us. So, in a nutshell, what is known as Christ consciousness, which is omnipresent and benevolent force, could also be described as universal mind, and dragons breathe out this universal mind rather than fire.
Yes.
There is no, this is the one and this is the other. They're equivalent. But if my understanding is, if we reduce it to Christ consciousness and those who created the word, then it's a monopoly of power where dragons don't appear in the story.
It is so corrupted.
Everybody who is listening to us, just let it sink in for a days first. This is huge. Deborah, another question?
Yes, I probably have several more questions now. One, right? One.
I think we need to get back to that topic regularly with Susan.
Yes.
Come on, one, please.
Okay. So this is another new understanding that the dragons work with the elements instead of being in one representing only one element. So could you explain, please, what does that mean?
Well, I have to say this blew my mind. Thank you, Deborah. I love the idea of the dragons in the elements, and I didn't quite understand, so it was explained to me. The dragons are delighted that we live in these technological times because they can explain concepts to us through the vocabulary of coding, for example. But I'll come back to that. Some humans understood there may be a dragon which breathes fire and hangs around a volcano, or a water dragon, perhaps, and that these dragons are limited to its own element, that it's birthed in it, as in general, a sea creature to the sea or a bird to the sky. However, when we go deeper and we realize that dragons are of the universe and of the cosmos, as you said, Martina, there is no containing or training a dragon. As dragons have designed, or use the word coded, if you like, planet Earth, they like to come here to play. And we were supposed to play with them as our friends. We were supposed to create. The dragons gave us the opportunity for us to come here and bring the divine spark and create joy. We were the ones that were to bring the joy and the laughter and the happiness. They play in the elements, but they work too. Like a good manager, they take notes on and carry out repairs where needed. But they're right in the building blocks of the coding of elemental life. We might discuss that at another point when we talk about dragon lines and time tunnels and things like that. But I mean, the coding, we need to go right into the fabric of universal life before we talk about that one. So as humans, we actually know very little. However, every aware life form, and we know there's plenty of life forms out there, every aware life form knows the dragon energy. And we only see each element individually. Dragons move through each layer of each element. There are worlds on and in our planet that we are not aware of. A dragon may play in water, but be needed to help out with a coding emergency. I'll call it that. Inside a volcano, for example, and one dragon could do both. They're not human, but rather the guardians and protectors. And as such, they can go anywhere.
Super. Katharina, another question?
Yeah. Susan, why do the dragons want to work with us now? Because I feel them. I feel the power. I feel the energy that has built even in this episode.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Why?
Fantastic.
Now.
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. Really, because they can reach us now. I mean, before now, when we were in 3D, there was no point. We humans had been told that dragons were a fierce enemy, mythical, yes, but terrifying foe. Why would they come close? Our planet was in a very dark vibration. In the Asian countries, however, they are a little ahead of us in their understanding of dragons. The dragon comes through and dance for them. And now they come for real. Now that we are in 5D and we have been lifted, the dragons are delighted that they are seen. They now hope to have the partnership that we were meant to have, the human kingdom with the dragons. because human beings are made with a divine spark, human beings are powerful creator beings too. Unfortunately, we've lost all our memories. But now that the dragons are being seen, humans are remembering. And as soon as enough humans remember, we will create a much brighter, more loving world with all that joy and laughter and happiness. And that's why the dragons want to work with us now.
Makes
Thank you.
perfect sense, Susan. So, final question for today. Katja?
Yes, thank you. I'm dying to ask a follow-up question. So now when we know that dragons are ready to present them to us, how we can show dragons that we are ready to perceive them, how to open ourselves to start this loving co-creation / playing relations with the dragons.
Thank you, Katja. That's super. What a great question. Now, it really does come back to this misconception we have, because we know this is a huge leap. It was a huge leap for me. So we know we have a huge leap to make from the fire-breathing dragon. So I would say that everybody should be totally honest with yourself. Are you ready to see dragons? You could ask yourself, did I believe what I read about fire-breathing monsters? If you still hold on to blockages to dragons, even locked away since childhood, and you really, really try hard to see dragons, it won't work. It just could never work because, the blockage is in there. So the dragons need you to be open and honest with yourself. If you are open but hesitant, perhaps due to our society's ideas of dragons, you could ask something like, I'd love to meet you, but would you introduce yourself gently to me? I may become frightened. That is something the dragons can actually do. They are very aware and they are very gentle. After all, they are the ones that live and play in Christ consciousness or universal mind or whatever it is, divine mind, whatever you want, however you want to call it. They are very gentle. Also, I know some people like to make a little altar with their favourite crystals, perhaps. Well, you could put a nod to a dragon on there, on your little appreciation altar. That would definitely help you break barriers. It would give you an area in your home where your energy could blend with that of your dragon without looking at a huge, terrifying dragon. You could feel into its energy first before you use your inner sight. You then become more aware when the dragon is near. You recognize energy signatures because they work on your energy signature and you have to pick up their energy signature. So it may be as simple as a little dragon altar on a coffee table, something like that.
Dear Susan, thanks a lot. You mind blowing?
Thank you.
I would describe it as an appetizer for a larger meal. So we'll have you back here soon, I guess. For everybody who's listening, there is more at hand. So you can see and experience more of the dragons, but also the Aachen dragon lines during the summer courses of Namas University, the beginning of July. Susan will be teaching about dragons and the dragon's grid that is here in Aachen. Together with other Namas artists, we will show paintings and photographs of a dragon reality that goes beyond 3D. And if that wasn't enough, the first 50 students, 50, that register for the courses that are already announced on namasuniversity.org will be invited to a dragon bath. So what is that? The dragon bath is a combination of dragon portals and sounds. So to get you in their frequencies and into higher dimensional frequencies in general. That dragon bath will take place during the art exhibition, more particularly, so the art exhibition is on the 4th and 5th of July. The dragon bath is in the afternoon of the 5th. And from the 6th to the 10th of July, the courses will be ongoing. For those who listen from afar and for sure can't make it to Aachen, we have Susan's first illustrated book on the dragon's reality out by the end of June, plus an exhibition catalog of the images of dragons, how they perceive realities in their dimension, also at the end of June. If that wasn't enough for today, please let it sink in. The team of the AoL podcast says, thank you so much, Susan and the Dragons.
Thank you, Sue.
Can't wait to have you back, and we can't wait to see all of you again in a fortnight. Thanks and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.